I have been trying to fix a leak on an old clawfoot tub drain. The water comes from around the rubber seal on the underside of the tub. I replaced the entire drain and overflow assembly with a new kit from a local hardware store including seals, compression fittings and pipes. I used putty on the rim of the drain hole before screwing in the drain with a drain wrench as well. The water is still coming out. What am I doing wrong? Thanks in advance.
Hi, I'm Mike and I have 20+ years of experience as a plumber. I'll be glad to assist you today. Did you also put the rubber gasket on top of the shoe under the tub? How much did you tighten it?
Hi Mike, yes, there is a rubber gasket on top of the shoe, and at first I didn't tighten it that much, thinking it might be one of those instances where too much tension could deform the rubber and break a seal. But after that leaked again, I cranked it down pretty hard and it still is leaking out. BTW, the leak is pretty high volume, almost a constant stream of water primarily from two spots on the edge of that gasket. Picture of the drain attached to underside of tub.
Did you put a lot of putty under the rim of the flange? When you tighten it, did the rubber squeeze out or stay in place? Is there any rust around the drain hole? Is the flanged piece a pretty sturdy piece of brass or is it kind of thin? Some of them are not so great. If it is thin brass unlike the old one, do you still have the old flanged piece?
I did put a lot of putty and it squeezed out quite a bit from around the flange. There is definitely rust around the drain hole, though. The new flange is almost exactly the same as the old one. Actually, the old one was definitely not original. I do still have it though. I did put a lot of putty and it squeezed out quite a bit from around the flange. The rubber seems to have stayed put pretty well, it's almost dead center on the shoe. There is definitely rust around the drain hole, though. The new flange is almost exactly the same as the old one. Actually, the old one was definitely not original. I do still have it though. Oops, sorry for the repeat, the web interface didn't make it obvious that my first answer posted to you.
The only reason I ask about the flanged piece is because there is a cheap version that will break when you tighten it. You did use a tub tool to tighten it, correct?
Yes, a drain wrench with a 1/2 inch socket driver. The flange seems to have held up to the torquing, no cracks or bending or anything, and I didn't do it as tight as possible. Do you think the rust could be preventing a good seal? Is there any other product I can add to the rubber gasket to help it seal, like silicone sealant or something?
That is all it is then. Tighten it down really tight. You just have to tighten enough that the rubber gasket fills the rough spots on the bottom of the tub. If that does not stop the leak, then get some Rector Seal thread sealant and put a little inside the shoe, but be very careful not to get any on the rubber gasket. It will lubricate it and then it will squeeze out when you tighten it. Always put sealant on the male threads and none on the female threads in every other case besides this. The sealant will lubricate it when you tighten and seal the threads also. Be sure the surface is clean and dry, and be sure to dry off the rubber gasket. When starting the threads, it is easiest to turn it counterclockwise and you will feel it drop into the thread before turning clockwise. This will help prevent any cross-threading. You may have to put a fair amount of force on the tool to get it good and tight, but it will seal. No silicone or any other product besides the rubber gasket on the bottom. It will only cause the rubber to squeeze out. The flange will need new putty on it too. You cannot put too much as the excess will squeeze out. The rust may not be an issue if you cannot see the rusty part from the inside of the tub, but if you do, then you may want to think about refinishing the tub before it rusts through. If there is any water in contact of the existing rust, then it will need to be refinished to prevent it from rusting out. You can get a kit at Lowe's and Home Depot for about $80 to refinish it also.
Okay, that is very helpful, thank you, Mike. There is definitely rust visible around the edge of the flange. Do you think that could be creating a path for the water right around the rubber gasket? Also, one more question. Before I got the full kit, I got just a gasket by itself, but it was quite a bit thicker, maybe 1/4 of an inch thick instead of the standard 1/8 of an inch or so. Would that possible offer a better seal, or am I better off with the standard thickness? Okay, I lied. One more question. If I get the tub refinishing kit, I'm looking at a Homax kit on Lowe's website. How would you recommend I treat the surface before applying? Should I try to file or sand or scrape off the rusted part? Thanks.
It will seal like I described for sure, but if the rust is exposed to the water, then the surface is going to continue to rust. There may have been a chip in the enamel that allowed the water to be exposed to the cast iron of the tub that began the rust issue. I would recommend that even when you do get it tightened, to start planning to refinish it soon, or you will need a new tub in a year or two. I am not sure how bad the rust is. There may be less time than that even. Some kits do come with a pretty thin rubber gasket. Certainly use the thicker one if you have room. Some tubs are pretty thick and may require the smaller rubber gasket. The thicker one is certainly better.
I attached a picture of the drain from the tub side. You can see the rust around the edge of the flange. Do you think it's sufficient to get the drain tightened down the way you describe and then cover the rust afterwards with Homax or another product of that type? Or should I refinish with the drain disassembled and then deal with the leak? Also, is the slope of the drain line important in all this? I had a feeling the thicker gasket would be better, as you say, but I was concerned it might push the drain line down to level or below the level of the opening on the vertical drain pipe. Thanks.
The drain is adjustable, and if it looks like it is changing the slope that much, just loosen the union and push it down in the fitting that much more. It should not be an issue though. Certainly finish it without the flange. If you finish it with the flange installed, there is little chance that will keep the water away from the rusted part. You can still comment or ask questions even after positively rating my service. I will always respond, and I am glad to continue to help. Mike.
That's great, Mike. I will give this all a shot.
Good luck, we're all counting on you.
Fix the leak, rescue the princess. Smile.
Nice. Thank you, been a pleasure.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert, now visit JustAnswer.com/YTHI.